Hello there, welcome into a very special edition. It's actually the first edition, so we'll call it that special. We're calling this segment the SID's Weekly Report. I'm Daniel Gallegos, Sports Information Director at Southern Arkansas University. This is Jordan Bergeron, Graduate Assistant Sports Information Director here at SAU. And Jordan, this past weekend, first weekend of the 2014-15 athletic year, obviously fall sports getting kicked off. Volleyball was technically our first sport to get going. They had a tournament at Rollins College, played on Friday and Saturday. You kept up with them throughout the weekend. How did it turn out for them?
Yeah, it was quite an eventful weekend, Daniel. Friday we had Texas A&M Kingsville, and we had Rollins, the host, and we fell to both teams. But the big thing was that team has a lot of moving pieces around right now. They have a new setter, they have a new libero, so it's really about getting going for that team and getting that team chemistry right.
Yeah, one of the things, you've talked with Coach Grimm, through preseason and a couple of coaches shows and stuff like that. He kind of has told us that the schedule that he came up with this year, going to a couple of tournaments, they're not cupcake teams that they're playing against. He's really got to focus this year on preparing his team for Great American Conference play. There are a couple of perennial powers in the GAC that obviously are at the top tier, and Southern Arkansas coming in right about the middle of the pack in the coaches poll, and so they're trying to elevate themselves. Do you think that was the case, maybe playing these teams early on? I mean, obviously unable to come away with the win, but you saw some good things.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. They started out really fast. The first set of their first match, Haley Muni had 9 kills, which was huge. They had a .370 hitting percentage. Obviously, it spiraled somewhat downward from there, but this team has a lot of, like I said, it has a lot of moving pieces. But playing strong teams early on in the season can only prove advantageous to this team. It's like you have to play tough teams to know what tough competition looks like. So that's really the story for them moving forward this season.
Was there anything that you saw that maybe surprised you going in, obviously without getting a chance to see them? It was their season opener, so we don't really have that much of a feel for the team, but was there anything that kind of stuck out to you throughout the weekend?
Well, despite a bunch of moving pieces, Taylor Rayum was huge this weekend. Our new setter for the Lady Mulerider, she ended up with 7 kills in the second match against Rollins, which nearly led our team, and she was really efficient. She swung .455. And also, Saturday, Allie O'Banion had an incredible day. She's a freshman. She ended up having 18 kills on the day. So she had a really big day, and they rewarded her. They named her to the all-tournament team.
Yeah, even though despite the wins and losses weren't there, there were some good things out of it. And so, obviously, home opener for volleyball this Tuesday. It'll be exciting to have them in the gym. But going back to the other sports, our cross-country teams ran in their first races, men's and women's both, Saturday morning at the Bob Gravett Invitational in Arkadelphia, hosted by Ouachita Baptist. There were several standout performances in that, weren't there?
Yeah, absolutely. On the women's side, Carly Langley finished as a top collegiate performer. She ended up breaking the school 5K record, which was previously held by Gabby Mendoza in 2003. She ran a 17:59.03, which is apparently really fast for a 5K. And then on the men's side, it was junior college transfer Mason Powers from North Iowa Community College who finished 4th for the men, and they both anchored their teams to 3rd place finishes.
I guess some people, maybe don't necessarily know cross country and kind of how it is. It's all based on numbers in your time and stuff like that. Obviously, times get better. By better, I mean faster as the season progresses. But those 3rd place finishes aren't anything to scoff at. There were some really good teams in that. Harding on both the men's and women's side, and Tarleton State. But for the women, if you take a look at it, 3rd place finish, but they were really only a couple of seconds back as a team from Harding, a team that's won the conference championship the past couple of years. And so obviously I think the women's team is going to be strong. Carly Langley, and kind of headlining that from last year. Virginia Ney, another solid runner, had a top 10 finish. So I think Lady Muleriders are starting to prime themselves and hopefully be able to compete. Last year they finished 2nd in the conference tournament, so hopefully continuing to make some strides there. But also the men's side, you mentioned getting a good junior college runner. I don't know necessarily if that's commonplace where you get an impact guy coming in out of a junior college for cross country, but first showing for Mason Powers was obviously a great thing to see, and some perennial guys coming back. Chris Wallace was a freshman last year, so he's a sophomore this year. Evan Adams into his senior year. I believe they all had pretty solid individual finishes, so it was good to see. And then upcoming, I think cross country, they're starting to prepare for the Great American Conference preview meet, which they're going to Enid, Oklahoma to go participate in that. But a solid showing for the cross country team, and then it kind of takes us into our long day, the sports information world on Saturday. Home football was our home opener, scheduled for 6 o'clock. It was family day. There was all kinds of excitement surrounding it. Everybody was ready and anxious. And then Mother Nature kind of got in the way. Wound up being about a 2-hour delay to start off the game because of lightning delays. And there was one of them we got within a minute of being able for the all clear, and a lightning strike came. So despite all of that, we played a football game in some wet conditions. The first quarter was more or less a wash. No points were scored. But then after that, conditions started to dry up a little bit, and the scoring kept up. What did you see out of that football game, just from your standpoint?
Well, you forget in the second quarter we also had another lightning delay. That was about 51 minutes. So we had a sloppy first quarter. Then as soon as the team seemed like they were going to get going, lightning struck again, and we ended up having a delay again. But in the end, it was SID Blackshire. He had an incredible game, and the junior college transfer, the transfer from Houston, Aaron Johnson, absolutely had a great game as well.
Yeah, a couple touchdown catches for Aaron Johnson, and you mentioned SID Blackshire, starting quarterback. We've had a chance to talk to him in the preseason, and we kind of knew he was going to be the starter going in. He's got an incredible story of the road he took to become the Mulerider starter, which obviously we'll be able to to pass out there in future games and stuff like that. So a little bit of a tease on SID, but with all the conditions, the Muleriders ran the ball very well. 357 yards, I believe, rushing. It was basically a four-headed attack if you include Blackshire, but starting running back DeAndre Jenkins, 155 yards rushing. He looked good. A couple of backups. Dwight Smith, a highly touted guy out of high school, transfers in from Texas Christian University, so a D1, looking for him to be an impact player, and then a redshirt freshman for the Muleriders too, Dion Williams. All four of those guys combined for 357 yards of rushing, so that was a bright spot. The one thing on the other side was Southeastern also had a pretty good day rushing. There wasn't much passing. The Muleriders defensively held Southeastern to 84 yards passing, so that was a good thing. But Devlon Wortham, 2 years in a row now, he was the GAC Freshman of the Year last year, kind of found some holes in the Mulerider defense. But do you think that was kind of an admiration? You think the Muleriders will be able to kind of tighten up that rush defense?
Oh, absolutely. That's what they pride themselves on in the end, is their rush defense, and I think it'll steadily improve throughout the season. Now, can you tell us, on the other side of the ball, speaking of defense, can you tell us about James Thurston's big night?
Yeah, James Thurston, he was almost everywhere, starting safety for the Muleriders. I think he tied for the team lead, 8 tackles. He had an interception, a big interception, and came up with a fumble recovery. So he was all over the place. Did a really good job for Southern Arkansas, and kind of ran that in. He was one of the reasons why Southeastern was only able to throw for 84 yards. And I think they thought that they were going to be a little bit better offensively in the passing game, bringing in their junior college transfer quarterback, who was an All-American, Trinity Valley, and he had some very impressive passing numbers last year. So for the Muleriders to be able to hold them to just 84 yards passing, even with the conditions, I think that was really, really big. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, going into the final drive for Southeastern, it was 29-23, and they had the ball late, and Southern Arkansas needed to make a big stop. And what happened next was pretty incredible. Yeah,
I've heard going into that game, obviously, everybody associated with Mulerider football in Southern Arkansas kind of had some heavier hearts going into that game. First game after the sudden tragic loss of Brandon Hobby, who would have been a senior wide receiver on the team. I've heard some people talking to him after the game. They'd say that Brandon was definitely there. I've heard, some people say that, Brandon, helped cause the fumble to give the Muleriders the ball back, and Brandon helped, the cornerback kind of stumble a little bit to give Aaron Johnson enough room to make that game-winning catch. And that was just incredible because, as we're in the press box watching the game, we kind of know that whenever we pump the ball to Southeastern with just under 6 minutes left, that you got to get a stop, and had them on a 3rd and 4, and not very many timeouts left, and they were able to convert, and then you start to know that if you give up one more first down, the game's probably over.
And with Devlon Wardham back there, it's an even bigger task.
Exactly. That guy had broken a couple long touchdown runs, very long touchdown runs, and is a very good back for Southeastern. And for him to basically mishandle the handoff and the Muleriders to get the ball back with a little over a minute 30 left was incredible. And then Blackshire being able to convert on a 4th and 4 with a 7-yard scramble to keep the drive alive. And then a play that I think kind of got overlooked a little bit. And as it was happening, I think all of us were like, who are you throwing it to? But it was on the 3rd down play, he threw it out of the back of the end zone, which hindsight, very smart because it left 2 seconds on the clock, gave Southern Arkansas another chance for one final play on that 4th down. And again, Aaron was able to get open in the back of the end zone and made the catch, which fortunately just tied the game. And so they only needed the extra point to get the victory. And Dylan Nowak, who was the punter last year for Southern Arkansas, now stepping into the kicking duties, did a great job and pretty much drilled it right through the uprights and giving Southern Arkansas the win. So it was very emotional. Almost 3 hours worth of rain delays. The game probably ended closer to midnight and everything else. But really, it was a great way to start off. Family Day. We still had pretty good fan support. A lot of fans stuck it out, even though we had to basically boot them out of the stadium for safety reasons and keep them out. But once we were able to let them back in, they came in full force, and it was a really good weekend. So looking ahead to this upcoming week, we've got home volleyball this Tuesday, and then also we're hosting the Lois Davis Invitational for cross country. It's 4th annual Lois Davis Invitational there. Last year, Southern Arkansas had a very good showing, particularly Carly Langley. She took home the individual honor there. Kind of expecting some of the same stuff. It's going to be ran on Friday night instead of on Saturday morning, so that's a little bit of a different thing. The women start their race at 6, the men at 6:30. Football's on the road, volleyball's on the road. Talk a little bit about volleyball and what they got coming up, going to yet another tournament.
Well, volleyball is going to Commerce, Texas this weekend, and according to Coach Grimm, it's no easy task again. They're going to face some stiff competition, and that's what Grimm wants. Grimm essentially wants that team to build team chemistry and maybe even lose some sets, but hopefully start winning some games. But he wants this team to thrive as one, and that's really what it's about, getting this team through tough competition to get ready for GAC play.
Yeah, that's one of the things. So you might look at a win and loss record before conference play, and it might not be where you might want it to be as a coach or fans want it to be as fans, but really ultimately, once you get into conference play, that's when things matter a little bit more, because then you're competing for the regular season championship and hopefully positioning yourself for tournament play and then making a good run in the tournament. So we had a very good, successful first weekend in it, and I thank you for all your hard work, first of all, and being able to help us get it all done. All the information you see on MuleriderAthletics.com, keeping everybody up to date, and got another full week ahead. Be sure to check MuleriderAthletics.com for all your live links, for all the games that may be home or away, any notes, pregame notes, that types of thing, and postgame recaps, and also some coaches' interviews and things of that nature. And Jordan, we appreciate it and look forward to another week.
Thanks, man.